urbanization first began in the mid to late 1700s, and with it, the implementation of industry. This process is continuous to this day and is stronger than ever before. And as a result of the turn that urbanization has taken within the past century, our cities and suburbs are now brighter than ever before because of artificial lighting. But unfortunately for us, little evaluating ever goes in on the basis of whether or not it is actually worth it to brighten up an area through artificial light. And as a result of this lack of awareness and maybe even care, a new form of environmental rot has come about called light pollution. Hello, my name is Joshua Begelman. I'm 15 years old and a sophomore in high school. And today I stand before you to speak about an issue I believe to be of utmost importance. Light pollution is the presence of any unwanted, excessive, or inappropriate artificial lighting sources, and it is seen in every walk of life. In a descriptive sense, light pollution is the effect of any poorly implemented lighting sources during the day or at night, and its punishments are real and to be taken seriously. From smaller consequences, like glare slightly harming people's eyes, to bigger consequences, like people around the world having their circadian rhythms disrupted, to extreme consequences, like a planet-killing comet headed straight towards Earth, or a solar flare being missed by astronomers until it is too late. The effects of light pollution are real and to be taken seriously. So, that is why it is imperative that we explore deeper how exactly light pollution is harming us and what we can do to change it through 4 key layers of analysis. Number 1, human health. Number 2, wildlife. Number 3, how we visualize light pollution. And number 4, viewing the cosmos. And it is these 4 key layers of analysis that will help us answer today's question. Are we being blinded by the light? And the answer, well, it may be within the first key layer of analysis, that being human health. Light pollution significantly hampers the health of all exposed to it, from the disruption of melatonin production, the disruption of hormone production, numerous sleep disorders, and the disruption of circadian rhythms. But what even is a circadian rhythm? Well, a circadian rhythm is the natural physical, mental, and biological behavioral changes that occur within an organism over a 24-hour period. And they are controlled by a master circadian pacemaker in the brain's hypothalamus, which synchronizes circadian peripheral oscillators throughout the body. But let's address each one of these issues individually. The American Medical Association has warned that exposure to artificial light at night is linked to numerous health disorders, specifically the disruption of circadian rhythms, the disruption of melatonin production, numerous sleep disorders, cancer, diabetes, and obesity. Harvard Medical School studies show that light pollution changes mood, sleep patterns, and lowers general well-being. So such illumination effectively becomes biological light pollution and also disrupts a thing called our pineal melatonin production. Now, this pineal melatonin production disruption leads to a thing called chronodisruption, which you all could have guessed it by now, disrupts our circadian rhythms and is linked to numerous health disorders. So the thing that people describe as little or minute in their bedroom at night is by no means little or minute in the long term. But short-term consequences also exist, from fatigue to irritability to a lack of concentration, all of which significantly hamper work and personal life. And as for long-term exposure, well, we know now that it leads to more serious consequences, from the disruption of circadian rhythms to melatonin production, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity, and numerous sleep disorders. Reducing light pollution, however, could help public health improve through things like dark sky initiatives, which could also lower medical costs for some. There is hope for both our urban cities to thrive and for our health to prosper. And this second key layer of analysis, well, it's just as important as the last. Wildlife. Light pollution significantly hampers species of all kinds, causing them eye damage, disrupting their migration, making them miss time activities, causing them the loss of habitats, and ultimately all of which lower their odds of survival. A study by National Geographic reports how sea turtles rely on light cues to navigate to the ocean during the hatching phase, but because of light pollution, are being disoriented, lowering their odds of survival upon the hatching phase, which is rare enough as it is. The International Dark Sky Association also highlights how both birds and insects also suffer from disorientation, reducing biodiversity for insects and disrupting migration for birds. The government of Australia finds that animals will be more likely to miss time activities. But let's define what that means. Well, if an animal is going to miss time and activity, that means they will be active, grow, feed, or breed at the wrong time of day, lowering their odds of survival. The government of Australia continues saying that nocturnal animals will be less likely to pollinate plants because of light pollution, having cascading effects on the ecosystem of said organism. They continue saying animals of all kinds, but mainly nocturnal animals, are more susceptible to habitat loss because of light pollution. However, these are all just generics, so let's give you some specifics. Many birds hatch and migrate across the Pacific, like the Cook's petrel, but because of light pollution, are being driven towards major cities instead. Too much light for certain types of grasses causes longer hay fever seasons, making certain types of agriculture near impossible. Insects are drawn towards light, leading them to streetlights containing hot bulbs that kill them instantly. And I'm sure we all can remember an example in hot, muggy South Carolina where we were being swarmed by bugs because we had one light on. Well, the magnitude in an urban area is even higher. Bats are more vulnerable to their predators in the light. And finally, the aforementioned example of sea turtles, who because of light pollution, instead of heading towards the ocean, are heading towards highways. And I wish that I could tell you these were the only examples, but they're not. And every example I did provide for you and didn't has cascading effects on the ecosystem it lives in, the environment as a whole, and biodiversity. So reducing light pollution, it's not just about saving the animals. Rather, it's about saving the ecosystems that we as humans rely on to survive. And this third key layer of analysis, it'll help us understand the issue on a more personal level. How do we visualize light pollution? Well, I can say from my experience, light pollution has significantly impacted my life, specifically my ability to view the stars. I first noticed the problem when I had built the telescope. I was ecstatic, and I wanted to use it at first opportunity. Only problem was when I tried to, I couldn't see any stars that would be within my telescope's reach. And on an objective note, my telescope is on the higher end of decently priced telescopes. I knew when building and designing it, I wanted it to be as perfect as possible. And after giving this 3-month project everything I had, I still met more hurdles. The light from the heart of downtown Greenville was so bright that it practically diluted all stars' brightness that I would be able to see with my telescope. And the reality, it's the same for most of you. And here is an example of what I saw on that September night. And while it's quite extreme and obviously of a much bigger city than Greenville, the point still stands. From my house, on any given night, I can only see the moon and maybe a couple of stars if I'm lucky. And the reality, it's the same for most of you. Now that ought to be enough proof to invoke some feeling of worry and enough proof of this problem's existence. But don't worry. There is hope. Now, this fourth key layer of analysis is the most important to me. Viewing the cosmos. Light pollution significantly hampers scientific research, makes it harder to find dark sky locations, astrotourism, and also cuts back on cultural connections. A study by NASA highlights the growing issue of astronomers, both professional and amateur like myself, to both view accurate data and view celestial bodies and events. The American Dark Sky Association, in collaboration with communities, has created dark sky reserves, aiming to bring back clear skies and protect from excessive artificial lighting. But still, it isn't enough. For most people living in urban areas, the ability to see the Milky Way is but a fading memory. But reconnecting with the stars, however, would foster a much greater appreciation for the vast and wide and our place in the universe. And as for the side of scientific research, well, light pollution also hampers it. We now know that astronomers, both professional and amateur, are finding it harder and harder day by day to view celestial events and gather accurate data. But with the reduction of light pollution, scientific research would be propelled and potentially spark further interest in space exploration. Our stars are one of the most important things that we as a society can cling on to for one simple reason. We all see the same sky. And no, I don't mean that people in the southern hemisphere see the same sky as us in the northern hemisphere. But on an objective note, no matter what your race, age, tax bracket, political affiliation, height, gender, or any other factor that defines you as you will see the same sky as the person next to you and the person next to them, and so on. So in terms of health risks, maintaining the environment, upholding conservation, and preserving our connection with the stars, it is within our utmost responsibility to act now on this problem, because it started with us, and we can change something about it. If there's anything that sticks with you from the speech, I want it to be one thing. When you all get home tonight, I just want you to look up. And if you don't see 3,000 to 4,000 stars, or rather, maybe you see only a couple dozen, which is the reality for most of you, it might be beneficial to adjust your outside lighting, close your blinds, or even, for the sake of your health, try buying blackout curtains, because the smallest of efforts will help. We must act now before we are completely blinded by the light. Thank you.